Hey, everybody. Welcome to Aiming Up with Kenneth and Trey. Trey is not here today, and I'm with my good friend, Nick Morrill. We met each other at Masters Nationals last week and just so happened to have a conversation in the back room, getting ready in backstage. And we were talking about our spiritual life and Jesus and how we both have utilized the previous contest prep to kind of refine us and um, help us see areas in our life, whether it be in our family, in our marriage, in our businesses, in our walk with Christ. And we utilized that opportunity of self-imposed suffering to improve as men. And so we're going to kind of dive into it, but I'm really excited to hear about Nick's story, because I don't even know the full story, and I want you to start from the beginning. And I think I said I was proud of you, but I didn't say congratulations on winning the pro card. And you actually won too, right?
Yes, sir, I did.
Which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
ridiculous. It's just like you're just going to rub it that much further in.
Yeah.
But no, that's a congratulations about that.
Thank you,
So
man. So,
what classes did you win?
so
You
I
won
won.
my class.
Yeah. So I won 40 plus masters light heavyweight, and then I won 35 plus masters light
Oh,
heavyweight.
so you just like, yeah, that's kind of like a stamp of like, you guys can't mess with me kind of. That's great.
Yeah. I was
I mean, that's just
very
that's the
happy.
way to win it. If you're going to win it, that's the way to win it.
I agree. It was a good experience, man. I was very surprised, uh, and I'm still in a place of just overwhelming gratitude, like for the experience,
Hmm.
and then just being able to like go out the way I wanted to because the prep was wild. It really was. So when you're talking about the story, do you want to hear the
I want
testimony
to
of how
know. So I want you to tell me, kind of give us all a backstory, because I know that you're a dad. I know that you're a husband. I know that you're a multiple business owner. I know that you're a bodybuilder. Um, I I know you're just overall successful. It seems like whatever you touch, you're winning at. So like, people need to know who Nick is, and I'd like you to tell people what brought you to bodybuilding, what just kind of give us the whole story, give us the whole thing, because if anybody, so I'll tell you how I know you. So this will give you some perspective, and this might actually translate to the followers listening. So, you know, I started my prep in the end of January, and um, about middle of November, I was in a bulk, and Austin and I, my coach, decided, okay, come January, by hook or by crook, we're going to go into prep. We've been together for 5 years. We've never done a prep together. I've only done one other bodybuilding competition back when I was 30, and let's do this thing. And it's just been a long road. So I'm, we have a car accident, my wife and I. The car accident completely derails our whole life for like a month and a half. Luckily, we all made it out without any major significant long-term injuries, but my wife had a traumatic brain injury. I had some soft tissue injuries. Landon kind of had some trauma. That's my 10-year-old son. And so you go from like, I'm clicking on all cylinders in this off season. And then that happens, and it's like Fat Boy Express. It's like, whatever, I'm throwing it out the door. I'm still training, but my diet's kind of all over the place. So like, by the end of my bulk, I'm on the fluffier end of things. And Austin's like, okay, let's cut it on at the end of January. And it's kind of slow going. But I see this guy, Baby Hulk, like popping up on Instagram randomly with like really cool pictures from the Clash series, and then I see, like, honestly, the very first photo that I saw of you was like, uh, he's about to get his pro card wherever he's going, and I, if I'm honest, I was probably a little jealous. I was like, this guy's he'd bust my ass if I went head to head with him. And so, however, what was interesting, that was earlier in the prep, and my physique transformation was just, it was pretty wild for 43 years old. So as I'm getting closer and closer in, I'm like, I don't know, I might be able to hang with that dude. And then I'm thinking to myself, he's going to Universe. I hope he wins it at Universe, because if he does, then that means he's not coming to Masters. And and so then I see you backstage, and I'm like, well, we know how this is going to go. And so, but I thought to myself, he looks approachable. I'll talk to him, see how, see what it's all about. And what do you know? Before we step on stage, we're praying together,
Yep.
and you win your pro card. And now we have this um, relationship that I'm excited to grow and spend time chatting with. And I think if anybody's been on Instagram for the last, gosh, what, 15 months, they've seen you prepping, I think. And I think and you have a very aesthetic look, and you're very, it's very obvious who you are. So I knew you before I knew you. And so now I know, now I want to know, what's the backstory behind the prep? Give me all the things.
So that's an awesome introduction. And let me say that, just to start with, I'm glad that everybody, even though you guys had some injuries and things like that, I'm glad everybody made it out of the car accident and everybody's on
Thanks.
their path to recovery. Man, that's rough. Uh, I don't have a lot of fears in life at this point, but the ones that I do have only revolve around my wife and my children. That's it.
Yeah, I will say, if it was a foot to the right, Donna wouldn't be here with us today. So, and it's kind of an ironic day. Um, she had a 2015 Highlander that, like, she babied. It was like she had bought it off the showroom floor, and so it was like devastating for her that it was totaled. And so we're conservative, and we decided to purchase an old Lexus GX 460, and we bought it online, and I'd never done that before off of eBay. And so when it got here and it pulled into the parking lot or into the driveway, it was just completely the worst paint job you'd ever imagine. And so I made the commitment to Don. I was like, listen, we're going to get the car painted. We're going to make it look brand new. I want it to feel like your car. We're going to lift it, put some rims on it, put some tires on it, stuff like that. And so it's been kind of a long process, and we're getting the car today back
Nice.
from the painter. And dude, it is so sweet. It is so sweet. Like, I'm super excited about getting the car back. And so that's what I was doing this morning. More kind of trading comments back and forth on Instagram. But yeah, I would agree with you. If something happened to my wife or kids, you might as well just throw me in there with them.
Yep, that's so what a blessing it is that it was a foot to the left, right?
Right.
There you go.
Right.
So I'll dive into I'll start a little bit further back and then I'll get into this prep. So, like you said before, my name's Nick Morrill. I'm now an IFBB pro after 19 years. Um, but most importantly, from a who I am standpoint, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a follower of Christ, and I'm also a person in long-term recovery. So I've been sober from illicit drugs for somewhere around 14 years, 13, something like that. And I have been stark sober, no alcohol, nothing like that, for almost 3. I find that it is important to put that out there because as we go through and people learn a little bit about who I am and they see some of the successes or quote unquote successes, because it's very subjective. Very humble beginnings, right? It wasn't always a fun thing. So I grew up in a big family, one of 6. So I'm the oldest son. Did the high school thing, did the college thing. I was raised well, and then
In Georgia, right?
no. So I actually lived in Tennessee for 13 years. Went to high school in Connecticut, and then moved to Maryland for college. So I've
Okay,
been all
cool.
over the place. I landed in Georgia, and I put roots in Georgia because my wife found me, which was a blessing.
Okay, good.
So when I was in college and coming out of college, I had always worked out, but the end of my competitive career in football, arena football, semi-pro, and all that other stuff came to an end. And I had met a young lady named Rebecca Mitchell, and she's like, hey, you ever wonder what you would look like with abs? I'm like, I'm husky. That's not a thing. I don't get abs, right? And she got me into bodybuilding. She taught me how to eat well, how to train harder, and do some of these things. And eventually, she ended up being my coach. She coached me for a really long time. But she was one of my best friends.
It
And
kind of
the day,
happens with coaches, right? Like the good ones, they turn into friends and it becomes
yeah,
a deeper relationship.
yeah. Well, her and I, we were really close before she ever coached me.
Okay.
We were really close. We had a good relationship. And around, I was either 24 or 25. I it's I kind of blocked this part of my life off, so I don't remember a lot of it. But I watched my little sister die. She was 21. Her name is Jennifer, and that's a key note because I want everybody to remember her name's Jennifer. And at that point in time, all the good old American boy just went away. I delved into anything that would take pain away from me. I did every drug known to man. I leaned into alcohol. I leaned into promiscuity, everything. I didn't have any faith to lean on, so there was a hole that I tried to fill with everything. And that lasted until I was about 30, somewhere around 30, 31 years old. And at the end of that, because I did my first bodybuilding show right before my sister died, at the end of my run of doing drugs and being arrested and not having anywhere to live and all that other stuff, I went away for the last time. And when I came back, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do a bodybuilding show. Like, it's going to get me back on track. It's going to teach me how to work hard again. It's going to teach me discipline. And, I'm just going to focus on myself and just seeing how hard I can work. And in that time, I met my wife. I was 5 weeks out from the Battle at the River in 2016. And she came up, I had seen her before. And
It's
I was,
Chattanooga, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I love those shows.
me
So
too.
she had come up to me, or I met her in October of 2015, and now I believe we're in May of 2016, and I saw her in the gym, and she walked by, and I was like, hey, do you remember me? She's like, yeah, I remember you. I was like, cool, I don't want your number, but here's my name, look me up sometime. Before she left the gym, my messenger went off, and we just started talking. I was like, hey, I don't have time to date you, but I'll be doing fasted cardio at this time every single day if you want to come and talk. So we spent 5 weeks doing fasted cardio together and talking. We tried to go on one date. We went to a movie. I fell asleep during the previews, and she just took a nap next to me, so it was cool. But that kind of kicked off the good part of my life. I worked 7 days a week in a factory. Then after that, I worked 7 days a week in logistics. Then after that, I did 7 days a week in automation before I ever made it to coaching. And I started coaching full time at 38 years old. And it has been a blessing. And leading up into this year, I was retired. I had no want to go back. I had done the Arnold Amateur and came in second place. I had done the Arnold Amateur and came in third place. I had done Masters Nationals and come in second place. It was just like, whatever.
It does get
For
a
my
little tiresome, I think, sometimes when you, because it's such a subjective thing where you, I mean, even just to touch on this a little bit, like I did the classic division, I did bodybuilding. And so in classic, I was actually, I ended the prejudging in the center and they had held me there for a while. But I only achieved third place. And then when I actually asked for feedback, they didn't have a lot of feedback. It was like, we don't know what to tell you, and you should probably grow your arms, which is another thing we can talk about later. But I
yeah,
think,
yeah,
I think at the end of the day, like the subjectivity of it all, um, if you're doing it only to win a pro card, it's very difficult to kind of stay saddled in it, I think.
yeah. And luckily for me, it was never even on my radar. I never thought I was that good. I've always done prep to learn something about myself and get closer to God. Always.
Hmm.
When I did it in 2016, it's because I needed to teach myself how to work and be sober. When I
Hmm.
did it in 2020, I was coming out of a really bad mental place and I needed a big goal to go to.
Hmm.
When I did it in 2022, that was when I started my walk with Jesus. And that was in January of 2022, and I did all those shows. My posing song was Gyra. I was in a 26-week discipleship for my marriage. Like, that was what it was about. It had nothing to do with anything else. It was my way to
Hmm.
praise, my way to break my flesh, and my way to get closer and hear God. And the most change I've ever happened in my life is during those times. So coming into this year, it was last year, and, for my 40th birthday, I had wanted to do like a mini cut just for my 40th birthday, like, the whole age doesn't matter thing. And during that
Hmm.
time, I had been put on some antidepressants that are now blacklisted. And I ended up almost drinking myself to death in
My
December of
goodness.
2020. So when I came out of it, God and I sat down and had a really long talk, and he helped me put some things into perspective. And I haven't had a drink since. But coming into this year, I was like, you know what? Like, for my 42nd birthday, it'll be my 2 years sober. I'm gonna I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do a mini cut. And I was ending a year long discipleship named Joshua's Men, so I wanted to, end the Joshua's Men and that at the same time. And during that time, I had found out that Rebecca had gotten cancer, and it was very aggressive. And then in November she passed away.
I'm sorry.
And yeah, and it went from doing a mini cut to I'll finish, and I'll just finish. So, I finished the mini cut in December, and then it just transferred over to, like, okay. So from September to December, I've gotten down to like 209, and from there we went into prep. And I called an old friend of mine, and I was like, "Hey, Zach," I was like, my mental state, what I'm getting ready to do, like, I need you to be a coach, but I need you to make sure I don't do anything reckless, right? And he's like, yeah. He's like, we'll make this. He's like, we'll pace ourselves. So we started going through prep, and realistically, prep was about me learning to deal with the grief from losing my sister and not acting properly. It was also trying to reconcile, losing one of my friends, the one that got me into this,
Hmm.
finishing for her, and then I also wanted to kind of prove that, I am who I say I am to my children and to my wife, and then to
Yeah.
the community that looks up to me. Because I have a lot of clients. I mentor a lot of people at this point because I've been so outward about all the mistakes that I've made in my life. So it was all those things combined, and I was like, the only way to do that is to go through prep. So as we're going through prep, we're 2 months in, and I slipped disc in my back. And
Wow.
I can't walk. It was awful. So I got carried out of the gym. I got everything adjusted, decompression, like all that stuff. It was weeks. It hurt so bad. And I was like, nope, I'm not going to quit. Like, I don't care. Like, I've had this happen before. We'll be fine. I still got plenty of time. We make it to South Carolina, and that's when I felt all of the pressure in the entire world because I hadn't been on stage in 4 years. I hadn't been on
You
stage
did
since I started
great in that
dating.
show, though. Like you
It was
posing was great. All
nuts.
that you did awesome.
And I appreciate it. It's But that was when my whole community was going to be there. All of my young athletes were there. I
Hmm.
probably had 40 people sitting in the crowd. And
Wow.
the look that they had only heard stories about when I talk about conditioning, they had never seen from me, and they had never seen it in person on stage. They'd only seen pictures. So when I walked on stage at South Carolina, what I brought there and winning the overall was just a big sigh of relief. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is done.
Belong. Yeah.
Yeah, I belong. My like the guys that are coming up next, they saw it. Everything's cool. Zach got his first overall win. I got to say thank you to Red. I got to say thank you to my wife. And like Red is Rebecca. It was a big moment of just reconciliation. Like, okay, I'm on the right path. He's showing me. Perfect. We're getting ready to go to Team U, and 2 weeks before Team U, I'm out moving some boxes because me and my business partners are building gyms, and I reached down to grab a box. It was full of foam, wasn't even heavy, and I was fully extended. And I went to move it, and I watched my bicep, my distal tendon snap off,
Ugh,
and I caught it.
dude, I can't. I can't
It was
with that.
awful. Yeah, I
I
watched
that's
it.
probably like if you had to talk about injuries and like the ones that would be the most devastating for me would be an ACL tear or a bicep tear. And if you see it roll up in your arm, that's just a different type of hard.
Yeah, because I was looking down at it, like it was point of view,
Oh,
my hands
come
down, looking at the
on.
box. And what's funny is that was the only injury I was ever afraid to have. That
Really?
one and a pec tear. I was
Oh,
terrified. I
pec
don't
tear
even.
is tough too.
This. You're not gonna like when I say this, but I refuse to train my arms because I'm so deathly afraid of tearing a bicep. Deathly afraid of it. You can ask all
So
my
the
athletes.
arms you have, so the arms you have, you don't
I
even
do
train.
not train them. I
Wow.
don't.
I'm really devastated by that comment.
It, it happens. I promise you. I knew you weren't gonna like that, but like there's no such thing as an arm day with me at all. Like you'll be lucky if you catch me doing 2 sets of 15 at the end of a back workout. I just don't do it. I
Wow.
can't stand it
Okay.
because I've been terrified of this. So I watch it snap off. I grab it and I go, oh no. Everyone, the guys that are standing next to me, Hobby, he goes, what's wrong? I was like, I just snapped off my bicep tendon, and I said it just like that, calm. He goes, yeah, funny. Like, no, I'm serious. Like, I need to get off of this Connex. So we waved down Lloyd, one of my best friends, my business partner. He gets me down off of it, and he goes, what happened? I was like, I just snapped my bicep tendon off. He's like, let me see, and I showed him. He goes, oh no. So I got mad for about 10 seconds, and then I walked back over to him, like, all right, how do I fix it? He's like, just go up to first look, they'll do an MRI. So I snapped it off at 11. I was at first look by 12:45. My wife and I were having a discussion the night before, and she was urging me to not go move stuff because she was afraid I was going to get hurt. I was like, I'm not going to get hurt. Everything's going to be
Can we
fine. Blah blah
stop
blah.
right there for a second? I just want to
Yeah,
talk about something that everybody needs to listen to. So if you're married and you're a man, um, your wife has been uniquely placed in your life to provide you intuition that you do not have. So when your wife says something to you about yourself or your business or your attitude or the way that you do anything or what you say or anything, if it has anything to do with you and she's saying it, it's true. And it's the same thing when it comes to your business or anything that you're involved in. If your wife is saying something to you and you don't like it, chances are you're getting ready to make a mistake.
I agree, 100%. So, but I did the husband thing. I'm like, hey, like I'm going to be careful. Like, I'm not
Right.
going to be lifting anything heavy. Like, I'll be fine. So, as I'm driving, holding my bicep in place so it doesn't slide anymore, I call my wife. I'm like, hey, I'm heading to first look. I just snapped my bicep tendon off. She's like, that's not funny. I was like, you're right. It's not.
It's really not
And I
funny,
was like,
babe.
I'm doing my best to stay in a good mental place right now, because I'm talking just like this. I'm very calm. It's like I'm trying to be in a good place right now. I was like, but I'm driving over here, and she came and she met me, and she's devastated. I'm
I'm
calm. I'm
sure.
cool as a cucumber. Not showing any pain, nothing. And they get me in the MRI, full distal rupture, 5.5 centimeter slip, all that stuff. So my wife, she's like, well, we're gonna get this fixed, right? So she gets a number from the gentleman at the place, gets on with an orthopedic, and they were like, hey, we can't see you for this amount of time. She pleaded with them. She's like, please just see my husband tomorrow. They're like, just come in when we open. So we went there next day. They come in, they look at it, and he's like, yeah, it's a full distal rupture. And it turns out this guy's the surgeon that works on all the Atlanta Falcons and all the other
Oh,
guys.
that's
So
great.
yeah, I know. My wife, she's led by God. Way like he just moves her where he needs to, right? So they come in and they look at me, and he goes, the surgeon's assistant goes, hey, we don't have anything until a week from Friday. And I was like, I can't wait that long. So the surgeon comes in and talks to me. He goes, what do you do for a living? I was like, I'm a bodybuilder. He goes, I'm scheduled for 12 surgeries tomorrow. I'll do yours tomorrow. He's like, I'll just do 13. He explains the surgery to me. So it was 48 hours total from the time it snapped off to the time it was repaired.
That's
Um,
insane.
yeah, it's
That's
God.
unheard of.
So like they get it together. They roll me out of surgery. I hop up and I drive straight to Chattanooga for junior nationals. Not advisable at all. So I go there. I'm in all sorts of pain.
You competed. You
Gastrointestinal.
compete at junior
No,
nationals.
I had clients there.
Oh, you had
Like I was
clients
supposed to be
there.
on, yeah, I
Okay,
was supposed to be on bed rest. I just came out of anesthesia. They put me full of
come on, bro.
fluids, full of antibiotics. Like I was awful. I hurt so bad when I was up there that
Wow.
the second day I couldn't even get out of bed. Like the gastrointestinal pain that I had was so incredibly bad from everything. So
Sure.
we finished that up. I come back and I don't know what to do. So I talked to my coach and I talked to Jen, and I'm like, because you can take the message from God one of two ways. It's either like, hey man, slow down, which is what everybody said it was, or like I kind of take everything. You want to see how bad I want this? Like,
Well,
like
first of all, so one thing I'm learning, and this is just me anecdotally learning this currently, because I'm in a bit of a difficult season, where I want to make a bigger impact than I'm currently able to, just not because I'm not physically able to or mentally able to. I just don't have the opportunities. And so I'm sort of waiting on opportunities, and when you're waiting, and you're trying and you're putting forth effort, but you don't see, it feels like there's like a pause, or like you're supposed to sit there. So like I would have I would have viewed it as slow down, because I've had those types of situations in my earlier years where God was saying, slow down. However, I think right now I'm learning that I continue to put forth the effort, even though it feels fruitless. And you're probably just on the other side of success. And I feel like when you're kind of in the darkest of nights at times, you're just right before the dawn of the success that you've been
yes,
pursuing. And so
yes,
that's what's ultimately happened with you.
yeah. Well, in those moments, and this is
What
something that
did what did Zach say? Just from a coaching perspective, like, was he like, because here's the thing, if
he
I'm a
went through phases
coach,
too.
if I'm a coach and I'm like coaching my athlete, it's always the person's best interest first. And like the pro card's not the best interest. So like my vote is like, we're not continuing.
With if it was for a pro card,
Sure.
absolutely not. But
Right.
Zach was privy to all of it.
Like
It
he
was
knew
never
what your
yeah,
purpose was. Yeah.
it
Okay.
was never about the pro card. He knew it
Okay.
was never about the pro card. It was about finishing. Like it
Okay.
was about closure, and like I needed it. Right, I genuinely needed it. So
Right.
he did, and he was so intertwined. with me, and he's always been so intertwined with me and my family and what we've done. Like he went through the stages of grief when it happened to
Oh, I
him.
bet.
Like there's
Oh, yeah.
anger, right?
Yeah.
He's an up and coming coach, and he's really good, and like so there's anger from multiple ways. Like, hey, I'm angry at Nick. Probably he didn't say this, but I'm angry at Nick because he shouldn't have been out there. I'm angry at everybody else that thought it was okay for him to be there. I'm angry because the tendon snapped off, and I'm angry from a business standpoint because I just won my first overall with an athlete. This is probably the best athlete I have right now. He's getting ready to go pro. We just had our best look. We've got all this momentum. He's being blasted out on Bodybuilders Without Borders by Whitman. It's a thing, and
Hmm.
it's gone. So the first step was obviously all the anger. Then it was like, hey, no, like we can do this. Like we can learn to pose. Like we can hide it. We can go to NPC Universe. And I was on it at
Such a
first.
positive mindset. I mean, that's
Yeah, I
like,
mean, me and him.
I'd have been
That's
like, I don't even know how you're gonna pose, bro. Like, I would have just
he
been
knows
like,
me. He like, and I'm not saying this out of any type of way. Like, he's watched me. He knows how tough I am and how mentally resilient I am. If I
yeah,
decide to do something,
sure,
good or bad, right?
right, yeah.
Um, so at first that was it, and then my body just started to fall to pieces. Like I couldn't bend my wrist, I couldn't move, I was inflamed everywhere. Every pose hurt extremely bad, and we're like, okay, I can't do Team U. I can't. So it was like, hey, we'll just go in November. The arm will be healed. It's USA Nationals, whatever. And I was like, okay, that gives us plenty of time. And then I approached him like, hey man, like, why don't we just do North Americans? Right? That's closer. I'll be healed enough. My arm won't atrophy as much, and we'll be good. So we set the target at North Americans. And then I kept working out. I kept eating right. I stayed, like, I kept doing my weekly check-ins. And when I came back from Team U, I was still really swollen. Uh, and
Did you
I
compete
just
at Team U or no? Or you just showed
No,
up?
I had
Okay,
an athlete up there, so I
okay.
took her up, and Zach was up there, and we were talking, and body's just not responding, it's not doing anything. When I came back, I was super swollen, like digestion's off, just it feel awful, and people started sending me photos of the guy who won in the last
Oh,
meet.
you gotta hate that.
I was just like,
This
I
guy?
really, well, the pictures don't do anybody justice,
Sure,
and I'm not trying to be any type of way, but the way I
but
felt
that's
about
how
my
it
physique
goes.
after South Carolina,
That's
I was
how it
like,
goes.
I don't care what show I'm at, like I'm gonna be a problem if I show up
Right,
at any age division. After South Carolina, that's how I felt.
right, and that was
Not so much to
rightly
South
so.
Masters. So I went and I sent him some messages. I'm like, hey, we're not gonna discuss this because he had brought up Master National. I'm like, we're not discussing it. I still have pitting edema. I still have this. I'm like, no. And that was where we left it. And then 3 days later, I do a check in. I'm 206, 207 pounds, inflamed, look awful. Stay on my nutrition, start increasing my food, resting a little bit more. And by Wednesday or Tuesday, because I woke up and I was like 201. I was like, what?
Oh, yeah, you
And
got a
then I
little
took some
fatigue drop.
photos. Yeah, I took some photos, and I sent them to Zach.
Let's
I'm like,
go.
buddy, like what?
Let's go.
I'm like, are you seeing this? He's
Let's
like, yeah, but
go.
we're not. He's like, we're not doing anything. He's like, absolutely not. And he called my wife on Tuesday. He's like, we're not doing this. Like he's shutting it down. Then Wednesday I woke up and I was like 199 or 198, and I was super tight, like everywhere. And I sent him the photos. I'm like, hey, he goes, you're hitting your poses perfect. I'm like, my arm doesn't hurt anymore.
That's awesome.
He's like, there's no way. I was like, I'm telling you, I woke up, my arm doesn't hurt, and I sent a video of me posing.
You doing peptides and stuff like
Yeah,
that for recovery? Yeah,
yeah, but even now my arm hurts. It was just for like this
yeah.
small
For this
portion of
small
time.
period of time. Yeah.
I could push, I could bend my wrist, I could do everything, I could hit, like nothing hurt. And
Wow.
I was like, buddy, I'm like, I'm gonna call you. And I called him, he answers. I'm like, I have a really bad idea, like real bad idea, but I want you to hear me out until the end of it. He goes, yeah, sure. It's like, I'm pretty sure God's telling me to do this show. I think he's setting it up. I'm like, and I need you to hear me when I say this. I'm like, there is no downside to this. I was like, because if we go and I finish, it's amazing that I finished and got on stage anyways.
Yeah.
Like, there's no
I
question.
mean,
Like, no one
for
should be on
sure.
stage 4 weeks after this surgery. Period. Point blank. I still get to prove that I am who I say I am, that I'm as tough as I said I am, that I'll never quit, just like I say, like I tell everybody to never quit. Like, that's it. And I was like, on the flip side of that, if we pull this off and
It's
we
epic.
win a pro card, that is like, you don't get an opportunity to have that type of story ever.
Well, the story then shifts from impossible. So if it's impossible, then there's only one thing you can point out.
Exactly. It was in that moment. It was my opportunity to do something that can only be attributed to God. And I was like, we
Right.
need to go do this. And I told him, I was like, we're not going to tell anybody. I was like, because it doesn't matter. I was like, we are going to go and we are going to do this. And we told no one. Like, it was it. I called Carrie, who's my best friend. I'm like, we're going. I was like, I'm going to go do this thing. It's crazy. I know it's crazy. You don't have to tell me it's crazy. If you want to come, you can come. He's like, yeah, I'm in. Let's go. And then Zach was just like, you got to ask your wife. So I go downstairs and I'm like, hey, babe, like, I know this doesn't sound good, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure God's setting the stage for me to glorify him. Like, I think I need to go do this. She goes, but that means peak week starts tomorrow. I was like, yeah, we leave on Tuesday. It's Thursday, right? She goes, she's like, you can go do this if and only if. If you lose, you promise me you go back next year and you win. She's like, this is just as much mine as it is yours.
There you go.
Like, I promise you, if this doesn't pan out the way that I think it's going to pan out, I will go back. Because this was supposed to be it, period. So she goes out of her way, immediately drops everything. She's booking the Airbnb, she's packing all the food, she's getting my clothes ready, making sure that I have like the tanning set up, just everything. And we leave Tuesday morning. We drive up there, a little overweight as we're driving, so I'm stopping at gas stations and posing and not eating so that I can, tighten up a little bit. And by the time we made it, I weighed in at 196. We went to Essentials Gym, and we're all worried about what I'm going to look like after the drive and after not being able to eat. So I got
I
one
weighed
meal.
in heavier than you, by the way,
Isn't that
but
crazy?
I was lighter than you on stage. What
So
were you on stage?
I have no idea. Maybe 198.
Yeah, so we carved up for like 5 days straight or 4 days straight. I think I had like 4,000 to 5,000 carbs over the course of 4 days. So by the time I checked in, I was 198. But the morning of the show, I was 192.6.
Jeez, bro. My metabolism don't work like that. So like,
Well, this is just I have plenty of room on the cap, so I think that's the difference, right?
well, I just your body was on fire. You coached it right.
Yeah,
Like, I'm a guy, like, I never go above 2,800 calories. I just
yeah,
that's where I'm at. And then I'm always sitting at like 22, 21 leading into the show. So you don't have to feed me much to fill me out.
right.
And if you like, you add some coconut water, some salt, and some, like 2 meals, I look big. And I never go for a big full look. This is the first time this was ever the game plan. So we go to Essentials Gym.
Yeah, you had a
I
different look than you did in South Carolina,
way different.
and I remember thinking to myself, because so it was you and Mike when I was looking when I was and Tony looked great too. He placed fourth, but like I'm backstage and I knew who you were, so then I'm kind of everybody sizes everybody up. I don't know if you do, but I always do, and so I'm
Yeah,
looking at Mike and I'm like, that dude's a freak. I was like, that dude's a freak. Like all
yeah,
he did, he hit a vacuum just sitting there, like messing around. And I was like, oh, he might win. We'll see what happens. And I didn't know he was working with Justin. And so I was just watching him backstage and I was like, there's two very different looks.
yep,
Yours was very full
yep.
and like maxed out and his is very lean and like streamlined, but you have a streamlined look too. It was just kind of difficult to determine
Hmm.
like how it was all going to go. But
Yeah,
yeah, it
it
was.
really was, man. Like,
And honestly, like I didn't even know you had a bicep tear until we talked after prejudging, I'm pretty
prejudging.
sure.
Yeah,
And so I'm sitting there going, first of all, this is insane. It was insane. I was just like, this is insane. I was like, I've never heard of this before. And then the more we sat there and talked backstage, I'm like, he's insane. And it's like, he loves Jesus. That's what it is. And he's got some
yeah,
sort of other mission behind this. And so ultimately, the way it panned out, when you ultimately won, um, when I walked away after I congratulated you, I got emotional because I was like, that's God. Like
yeah,
that's the only
one
that
hundred
like
percent.
there was no one that could say there was no other reason for it.
It's not. It's
And even to
it.
watch you, like what was kind of like shocking too, because I didn't have this information until post show. So you're posting reels of you preparing the night before and you're wincing in pain, and you can't even hold on to the grip of a lat pull down, so you're using your elbow to activate your lats. And so I'm like, okay, this dude was even in worse shape than he presented backstage. And so that it just makes it that much more of sort of a lighthouse shining on the fact that it was God that orchestrated the whole thing in the first place.
Absolutely, brother. It's at Essentials we were going through, and I was in a big pump cover and sweatpants, and we're trying to get me to activate stuff, and it hurts.
Yeah.
Every movement, I'm just like, oh, like, and at that point, I'm like, I'm gonna look awful. Like, I'm just going through my head, and we go back into the posing room, and as soon as I took my shirt off and like derobed, Zach's face changed.
He's like, let's go.
I'm like, what? And then Carrie, who's like, Zach's my coach, so like he's gonna be positive. Carrie, like it's not that he's overly positive, or he's just flat. He doesn't get surprised by anything, especially when it comes to me. He's been around me for so long. He looked at me. He's like, this is different. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, it's just different. So I go through and I do some posing, and like I'm super peeled at the time, which I'm like, this is what I want to present. And Zach goes, we can't. You can't present this because you can't recreate what we just did
Yeah.
backstage. He's like, I
Right.
can't hook your elbow to stuff and get you a 35-minute pump. He's like, you're not gonna be able to do any of that stuff. He's like, you have to go in super full. I was like, I don't like that plan. He's like, it's the only one we got. So we go through, and he just has me sit in a chair basically. He cooks me food, he brings it to me, I eat it, and then I take a little walk, sit down, and he comes back, he's like, time to eat again. I'm like, whatever, and just meal after meal after meal. And I'm getting like wildly uncomfortable, right? Because it's the amount of food.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever. Like, I trust him. And then Carrie starts doing interviews with me because there's going to be a testimony that comes out and all these other things. Because that was the point. It's like, it has nothing to do with the card. It has nothing to do with me. It has to deal with the message of what God can do. It was the whole thing.
Hmm.
So, and it'll come out. But when we were backstage, I saw Mike, and I'm like, that's normally the look that I'm going for. Like the super peeled, grainy. And I just, Justin's guy. I'm like, okay. And then in the 35-year-old division, the short doctor guy,
Hmm.
who's just ripped, Chris Tuttle's guy. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and I see you and I see everybody else. I'm like, man, it'd be really nice if I was the regular conditioning I normally am.
Yeah.
But I'm
I
not,
was pretty
you know?
happy with my conditioning. I think
Yeah, you
I
guys were
mean, there's some
good.
areas and stuff that we can improve next time, but like, that's the one thing that I knew that we were bringing. that,
Mm,
it's that's usually the defining factor, especially in bodybuilding, you know?
yeah. And
So,
I'm always the most conditioned guy on stage. I'm never the fullest. I've never been
right,
called full or shapely, right?
right.
So I was peeled. Zach filled me up as much as he possibly could. And the look on stage was just very big. Like I used
Yeah, there's a
silkboard or
picture of you and
hamstrings.
me hitting most muscular side by side together. I think I shared it with you, and I
Mm-hmm.
was sharing photos with a friend of mine, and like they were still caught up on the classic call. Like they were upset that I didn't win my pro card in classic, and so that he's like, kind of like yammering on about that. And I pull up the bodybuilding picture, and the very first one is me hitting most muscular and you hitting most muscular. And he goes, "Oh shit, that dude's huge." He was like, he was like, "You hung with him, but he's huge." And I was like, "Yeah, he outsized me for sure. It's,
And
he
that
looks huge."
that was what we went with, and the fullness with I still had quartered hamstrings, my glutes were still in, my
Hmm.
Christmas tree was still in, separation was good. I posed to my strengths, created a lot of depth, but at the end of the day, it really just came down to the preference of the judges on that day.
Right.
And anybody could have won, and it could have been judged differently. I remember going home from prejudging to the Airbnb, and I
And
hear
you didn't
Justin.
know.
No, but I heard Justin Jacoby and Zach on speakerphone upstairs, and they're
Oh,
going through pose by pose
yeah,
who they thought won the
yeah,
pose,
yeah,
and each one of them had it 4-4, different different ways.
sure.
Zach gave Mike the most muscular. Jacoby was like, I actually give that one to Nick. And then they're going back through the back poses. So I just kind of blocked it all out. And I remember like you coming up to me right before we went on stage and asking if you could pray. And I was like,
Dude, the Holy
just
Spirit was just like, you got to pray for that dude. And
yeah.
I was like,
And
okay. And
it was
honestly,
perfect.
here's my philosophy. So I grew up in the church. I didn't get saved till I was 30. Got saved, had like a moment of lots of church hurt, ran away from God the opposite direction for a few years. And then he slowly beat me into submission. And so
Yes, he
now
does.
I'm back to that just being my number one thing. My number one goal is to be as close to God as I can, and to um, to be sanctified. And so ultimately, I used to get frustrated when I would interact with people in small group setting, or even a conversational sort of just phone conversation, or just like in a passing way, and somebody would say, how, can I pray for you? Or how can I pray for you? Do you have any prayer requests? And the person would say the thing that they need prayer for, but there would be no prayer. And like in my mind, I know how I am. If I don't pray right then and there, then I'm probably going to get busy and I'm going to forget. Because
Yep.
it's interesting, as I progress as a human being. When I look back as a kid, I remember thinking, man, why do we have to go to church on Sunday night? Why do we have to go to church on Wednesday night? Why do we have to go to church on Friday night? It's like, why do we have to go to church all the time? It's like, well, because we're forgetful and we need to be reminded. And even though the gospel is so unbelievable and it's so shocking and it's so transformative, we still forget. It's just immediately forget. So what I've decided over the course of the last year was, if I had a feeling from the Holy Spirit to pray, stop and pray. Um, and I do that with clients, and it gets awkward sometimes, but we go and pray. And so, and if there's a point where somebody's like, I need prayer for this, I'm going to stop and pray. And so, like, my closest friends, we almost end every conversation we have with a prayer. Um, if if I get that inkling, I'm just going to do it. And so as soon as, like, I remember looking on stage and then looking back at you, and God was like, pray. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to do it.
Let's do it. Yep.
And
And
so we
it was
prayed,
very
and
refreshing.
all I prayed for was for peace and for His will to be done. And I think, internally in me, and I'm going to unpack this a little bit too, so people understand. And this is sort of the premise of the podcast episode. So I don't lose, I like ever. Like whatever I decide to do, I usually am really successful at it. Whether it was a corporate job that I was, in for years, I was in sales, I would be number one all the time. Um, Even previously in the year, I have a pro athlete who is his rookie debut, and we won his rookie debut, and like I kind of knew it was going to happen. And then we went into Detroit knowing that we're going up against Wesley Vissers, and chances are we're not even going to get a nod because of the seniority aspect of it.
Yeah.
And so he cracks top three in Detroit. And then the following week, we go to Utah and win the show, and we qualify for the Olympia. In 2020, I had a conversation with John Meadows about how I want to go to the Olympia one day. And that was just sort of like in the back of my mind, I'm going to do it one day. Would have never really guessed that it would happen as quickly as it has, but I'm also kind of not surprised because I win. I'm the dude that wins. And so, like, at the end of the day, when I started this prep, there were two sort of thought processes. For a 43-year-old guy, I'm pretty well put together. I'm not like, I'm not you. Clearly, I didn't beat you. But if once you get into the masters levels, it's kind of like, do you have abs and do you have legs? Are you big enough from the back? And like, I knew I had abs, I had legs, and I was big enough from the back. So there was a high probability that I was going to do fairly well, no matter what I decided to do, whether it was going to be a local show or even move into the national level. So as that progressed, and the closer I got to the thought of doing nationals, the more fearful I got. And I was talking in my kitchen with my wife and my son. My son was in the living room, and I might get emotional because I'm a crier. So I'm talking to Donna, and I'm like, I don't like losing. I'm not going to put myself on the national stage to be embarrassed, and I'm just not going to do that. And I don't think I don't think it's very wise to go do this. And heck, we don't even know what I'm doing on the local level yet. Like if I don't win an overall at the local level, then I'm sure as heck I'm not going to go to a national level show. And I'm just essentially complaining. And Donna's like, she's very strategic with the way that she interacts with me at times. And so she's being quiet. But the person that wasn't quiet was my son. And he said, well, what if you win?
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'm going to sit with that for a minute. And I had to get some steps in. At that point, I think I was at like 15,000 steps a day. So my family opted to do the steps with me.
That's awesome.
And so we're walking, and Landon's kind of lagging behind. And Donna's like, you know what your problem is? And I'm like, oh boy.
Here it
Because
comes.
I got a wife who, she ain't scared of me. She ain't impressed by me either. And so she said, "You're scared of losing. This prep is not hard. What's hard is committing to a thing that you know you'll probably lose. And you'll probably lose." And I just broke down. Like I immediately, like it's like she saw right through me because that's the last thing I want to do is lose. But, the dieting part up until that point, it was pretty decent. Like I, I don't think I dropped below 1,700 calories um, at any given time for any length of time without a refeed shortly thereafter. And so, but as I got lower and lower and lower and lower in body fat, and you know how this feels, your neurotransmitter health goes to crap. So your dopamine is low, your serotonin is low, your norepinephrine is high, your cortisol is high. So you're in fight or flight all the time. And if you're in fight or flight all the time and you're a coach and you're invested and you have clients who are uh, not easy. So I'm in the functional health space, right? So like a lot of what I do is autoimmune conditions or gut health or hormone related things and very difficult cases. And then I only have a small percentage of bodybuilders. Would I like a shift? Maybe sometimes, because like bodybuilders are difficult in their own right. But these people, like this is my calling, right? I'm a healer. And so like being a healer, being invested, and like we're doing this thing, it's the pressure's high. And then you got to be a dad and you got to be a
Yes.
husband and
Yes.
you got to pick up after yourself and you have to cook your meals and you have to um there were nights where I didn't even want to brush my teeth. I was so tired. And like, okay, I still got to show up in all these other aspects of my life with what? I have no energy. I'm in fight or flight. I'm literally hangry. I'm on the verge of losing it, losing it. And so, what do? You have nothing left. And so, it was right around spring break for Landon, and I knew he was going to be home. And if I'm home and he's home and Donna's home, I'm the sole provider for my family. Then I've got to be present the majority of the day in spring break. And the only way for me to do that is to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning. And so I've decided I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, but I'm going to start reading my Bible in the morning, and I'm going to start my day off with that, and I'm going to see if if I just reorient my brain, can I make it a little bit longer in the day, and can I show up a little bit better, and can I not be hangry? Can I manage my emotions? Can I not complain about a difficult interaction with a person? Can I be grateful? Can I be full of gratitude? Can I start to shift that mindset if I put one more hard thing on the plate? And that's, well, you're going to lose 2 hours of sleep or three. And those 3 hours of sleep are going to be pushed into work, but you've also just added Jesus into the mix. And let's see what happens. Well, dude, I'm 2 days in, and my wife's like, you need to do this every day. Your your mood is different. The way you're operating is different. The way you're talking is different. And then I found myself, okay, I'm reading the word and it's pointing these things out to me that are hurtful. It's like, oh, I'm not that good of a good dude. Like, there's something in me that needs to be worked out here. And so, like, as I'm getting hungry and hungrier and hungrier, the real dirty, gross version of me starts to seep out. right? And it's like, oh, I didn't actually know that was in there because I'm usually fed. Okay, well, what am I going to do with it? I'm going to wrestle with it. I'm going to refine. I'm going to have Jesus refine it. And so that's what we're going to do that. We got to do that. I got to get this out of here. I can't have this here and be a dad and be a husband and show up and be the man that I say that I am. So I'm getting this conversation with Donna where she's like, you might lose and you need to be prepared for that, but you might win because that's what Landon just said. And it's like, okay, well, that's the turning point. I'm not I'm not going to look back. I'm going to do nationals. And at the same time, it was like Austin had ESP or something that day where I had I had checked in and he was like, your physique belongs on the national level stage. You'll get first call outs, and I believe, and we'll just see how it all pans out. And you need to be confident in your ability to show up in that way. And it's like, okay, a little bit of affirmation from the coach, which always goes a long way. But that was like God giving me a little wink,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like, okay, well, then it gets real gross because now I'm shredded and I got to get even more shredded. And the more shredded you get, dude, there was a week there where I slept maybe an hour or two total a night. You want to break a man? Just don't sleep and then don't eat and then walk 15,000 steps and train 4 days a week. And I don't know, take all desire for anything positive in your life and throw it in the toilet. Like that's where I was. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so there's no joy, but I have to choose joy. Where am I going to draw joy from? Oh, Jesus, because that's all I
Amen.
have left. That's all I have left. And the only place he's meeting me is where I'm allowing him to meet me. I have to show up in the morning. I have to invite him into my house and I have to like cling to the word that I just read. And I have to pray through my whole day to just show up as some sort of normal version of me that's still a shell of the man that I was 6 months ago when I started this, who I was really proud of. Like when I started this thing, this is no half stepping, dude. Like I'm leading my household. I'm showing up. I'm the dude, right? And then Prep was like, you ain't
You're not.
nothing.
Yep.
You ain't nothing. In fact, you're prideful, you're sinful, you're not kind, you're ungrateful, you're a complainer, and you're weak. That's what happened to me in prep. And then it was like, okay, well, when I am weak, he is strong. And I'm going to stay in this weak place and I'm going to lean into Jesus as much as I possibly can because, well, I don't have any other choice. Because if I'm any other version of myself, my wife might have me sleep in my truck.
Mhm. Yep. So, and I'll jump in here with you, right? So, and I say this a lot. Prep is a form of fasting, right? It's breaking your flesh. It's making your flesh understand that it doesn't hold dominion over you. And if you haven't done it a lot and you haven't looked at it in that light a lot, prep is very hard. It's very hard because all the sensations are new. Like the first time I ever did a 3 day just fast,
That's
I did
horrible.
not. I did not sleep.
So bad.
Well, I didn't sleep at all, and it wasn't. It wasn't a hungry thing. I could hear him just nonstop. The volume on the voices just, and not from a schizophrenic standpoint. Like you are always fed, so it's always dull. The volume is always turned down. When you fast, that it turns up a lot. And anything that you've been dodging is right
It's
there
coming.
waiting for you. Don't sleep, right? So prep exposes. you and brings all those things up, and it forces reliance on God if you allow it to and if you understand it.
Yeah.
And going into this last prep, right, there was a lot of things that I had been leading my family with that I got the opportunity to prove. So my son came home from school one day, and this was as I'm in prep. It's like right before I snapped my arm, probably 6 weeks prior. He comes home from school. He doesn't come say hi to me, and he always does. He's 7 years old. Like, it's my guy, right? And Jen comes over to me. Jen's my wife, and she goes, I look at her, I'm like, hey, where's Knox? She goes, oh, he's upstairs in the bath. I'm like, it's 4 o'clock. Why is he in the bath? She's like, oh, he had a really rough day at school and blah, blah. I was like, get him out of that bathtub right now. I'm like, he is a man. We are raising a man. Get him and bring him down here. I'm like, he's not taking a damn bubble bath because he had a rough day. I'm like, go get him. Like, it's how I am. Period.
Sure.
Now, I'm
It's
not
fair.
mean to my kids. I
No,
don't
I
yell
think
at my
it's
wife.
fair.
I don't raise my voice. I don't do anything. But I will teach my son to be a man. Period.
Yep.
He comes
100%.
downstairs and I'm sitting at the table. And I look at him like, tell me what happened. He goes, he's like, I don't understand why people are so mean. He's like, go on. He goes, I help everybody. He's like, I'm kind to everybody. I pray for everybody. My son does. Like, he's 7 years old. He's growing his hair out so that he can cut his hair and give his hair to kids with cancer because he doesn't think it's fair
Oh, wow.
that they don't have hair.
What a good
He's
kid.
7, dude. He's 7. He's the best human I've ever met. And he's standing there in front of me, and I feel for him because I know how genuine this kid is, and it's how I was before the world got a hold of me. I was him. And I just look at him like, so what happened? He's like, I fell down. He's like, I hit my head really hard. And a bunch of kids just pointed at me. No one would help me up. And they just started asking if I was going to cry and betting that I was going to cry. He's like, Dad, I didn't cry. He's like, you didn't cry. And I got up. He's like, I just don't understand why people are so mean. And I was like, okay. And I was like, Knox, do you think that we help people so that they will help us back? He goes, no. I was like, do you feel that when you help people, they owe you something? He goes, no. I was like, Knox, how often do you see Daddy help people? He's like, you help everyone. I was like, okay. Like, how often do you see people come over to help me? He goes, they don't. I was like, do you think that they should come help me? I was like, or that they owe me anything? He goes, well, it would be nice. I'm like, that's not what I asked. I'm like, do they owe me something because I help them? And do I expect them to help me because I help them? He's like, no, you don't expect that. I was like, okay. I was like, so, you know what I do on bad days, Knox? He goes, no. I was like, I say thank you. He's like, what? We said, what do you mean you say thank you? I was like, I say thank you because God's paying attention to me. God is giving me a test so that I can prove to him that I'm worthy of the life that I say I am and of the gifts and the talents that he gave me.
Mm-hmm.
God made me a leader. Like, he made me a good man. He forged me into who I am. I was like, so when he tests me and he gives me hard days, I look to him and I say thank you, and I will prove to you once again that I am who I say I am, and I am worthy of the life that I say I am. I say that to God. I was like, so no matter what happens, I'm like, your daddy will never quit. He will always be a person of service. I was like, and I will always say thank you, even for the things that I wish most hadn't happened. 4 weeks later, or 6 weeks later, my arm snaps in half. And
Count it all joy.
And everybody was calling me. They're like, oh, this sucks so bad. Like, I can't believe this. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm blessed and highly favored. I'm like, it's going to be a hell of a story one day. And I would say it audibly to every single person. You can call anybody. It's like, oh, man, it's so bad. I'm like, no, man, I'm blessed and highly favored. I'm like, I'm not worried about the outcome. I know the inputs were enough. Like, that's not in my control. I'm going to keep doing this. So I tell my son that. My son's a little bit different than yours. And before I left, he just looks at me. He's like, don't lose again. I was like, you do know that I won in South Carolina, and I won 2 overalls before I went to nationals last time. He's like, yeah, but you lost to nationals.
He's like,
Like,
not impressed.
I was like, okay. But I came home from the hospital, right? and
Hmm.
my arm in a sling. My daughter's crying her eyes out because daddy's arm's broken, like, and she's 5, and Knox is worried, and I was like, guys, like, I'm good. I told you, like, I'll show God, like, he's just testing me, like, it'll be fine. So that leads all the way up to, you watch for signs, and if you listen and you open your eyes, you will see them along the path to let you know if you're going the right way or not. With my body changing, my arm stopped hurting. I said thank you because I knew it was him. When I made it to nationals, I was in Essentials Gym and everything hurt the whole time I was training. But when I took my clothes off to pose and I saw everybody's face, I knew it
Hmm.
was worth a shot. When they did the interviews with me and they asked me what I was searching for, no one ever said if you win. Everybody's terminology around me was when you win, what will you find? And the only thing I could say was peace. It's all I wanted. Leading all the way up to right before I go on stage, a man that I just met walks up to me and puts his arm around me. And he prays for peace and God's will. The only prayer I had prayed the whole time was, God, this would be really cool if it was my time, but if not, your will be done, not mine. I said it again when I was on stage. You said it when we were sitting. I'm getting ready to walk up the steps to go find out if the inputs were enough. And you put your arm around me and you pray. I knew at that moment that I was where I was supposed to be. You wrapped your arms around me again when when I won the division. You
Yeah.
stopped by and you put your arms around me. You said it was deserving. You were competing against me.
Yeah. I said I'm proud of you.
Exactly. It's like you don't get those things and you don't attribute it to God unless you were intentional for doing those things and understanding that it was a blessing to be there regardless, and it was only by His grace and His
Yeah. I
strength
mean,
and
I
will to be there.
that's why that's why I stopped and said what I said to you, because there was this internal struggle within myself that I'll actually tell you this. So my wife sent me this post the night before prejudging for Classic. And the post was like, write out what you want tomorrow to look like. And I wrote it in my phone, detail after detail. And so after prejudging, it looked like I had written my future. And but the ending actually did not end the way that I had written it out. So I lost. And so I knew, and the plan was, is if I won my pro card in Classic, I wasn't going to go to bodybuilding the next day and compete because I just wanted to end on a high note. And this is where it gets interesting. So the theme is prepare to lose, but what if you win? And what is the losing? So there's never been a time in my life where winning grew anything inside of me. I've always had to lose. I've always had to suffer, right? And so here I am. I'm suffering. I didn't win. And what I'm actually really upset about is that I can't go home and see my wife because I committed to bodybuilding. And this is what's interesting. Austin told me, he was like, you should just do bodybuilding, don't do classic and bodybuilding. But everybody's like, dude, you got a classic physique, you should do classic,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. And so I just did both, just out of happenstance. Well, when I stood on stage with you guys, I actually felt more at home with the bodybuilding crowd than I did with the classic physique crowd. There was a, it just, we all kind of got along a little bit better than everybody else that I was dealing with the previous day. And but I knew when I saw you guys, I was like, losing to get today again. And I think now that hindsight's 2020, the loss made me pray. And the prayer became, Lord, increase my trust in you.
Yep.
Lord, um, I want your will to be done and I want you to be glorified. That's all I want. And so it would be a really beautiful story if I could have won and then glorified God. But at the end of the day, that story seems really plain. But now I'm sitting on stage with this dude who just tore his bicep and he wins his pro card, who I just prayed for backstage. And I was forced to go to bodybuilding because I lost the day before. So I had to show up and I had to say the prayer. And then I had to have gratitude in the moment when you win and I lost. And I had so much gratitude that I didn't walk off stage immediately. I went and embraced you and said I was proud. And that's not me, just being honest.
Okay.
That's not me. That was Jesus. And then on top of that, we're having this conversation backstage about this podcast.
Yep.
And then I post a reel this morning that kind of stirred a little bit of the pot. And the only thing I've been talking about all day long is glorifying God and Jesus. So pretty wild, but I think this was divine intervention, my friend.
Of course. I've the if and I'll tell you guys one more story. Like, if you look back at the summation of your life, eventually it will all make sense if you have patience and a certain perception. The worst thing that has ever happened, I understand now was necessary. And if you can ever get to that place, life is life is much more peaceful. So I'll give you guys this, right? And I want stay in line with this just for a couple minutes. I watched my dad pray for my sister's life. He looked at the doctor and said, "You mean to tell me that there's not one more miracle in the world for my little girl?" And the doctor said no. I watched my family collapse. I remember what she looks like in the casket. I remember Rebecca being there with me at the funeral. I remember it destroyed mine and hers relationship. I remember everything that I did wrong. I remember every rehab I had to go to. I remember all the money that was spent to keep me alive and all these other things, like all the way up until right before I started this prep. Right? It was in June, and I'm in this long discipleship, and speaking is what I do. I'm a great public speaker. I can deliver messages. I have no problem telling my testimony. And a part of this discipleship is you are to deliver a sermon, a message, a teaching. And I'm sitting down in June, 3 days away from having to give this sermon, and I can't write anything. I can't do it, and I don't feel good. Everything's heavy. I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. And I was just like, oh, this should be easy. Like James 1:12, blessed are those who are given stand firm under trial because they'll be given the crown of life. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like, I'll be able to do this. Not happening. And I'm like, I don't know why I don't feel good. And my phone goes off, and it's a message from a young lady. She said, "Hey, this is so and so. I don't know if you remember me, but I wanted to let you know that I'm 90 days sober, and I don't think I'd be alive without you." And then the next message that hits my phone is my family group message, because they're putting together the dinner for my sister's death anniversary, which is that week. And I sit back and I go, I understand now. You said no to my dad. You forged me into this thing. You sent me to this rehabs. You made me a drug addict. You made me angry. You made me discontent. You made me walk away from you so that you could teach me. And I built this resounding network inside of the recovery community so that one day a little girl would reach out to me whose father was praying for his little girl, and I would be the blessing that kept her alive. And I was able to look back, and I hate saying this. Like, I hate it. But I was able to look back and say, thank you. I want my sister to be here. But I understand what God needed to do. I understand what he forged me into. I understand it now. Because hindsight is 20/20. And in that moment I was like, you said no so that I could become a yes. And then the sermon came to me. Jesus prayed. Jesus was told no. Right?
Count it all joy.
Yep. Jesus, he was told no. Like, you're going to be crucified. Sorry. Right? Father, take this cup from me, but if not your will be done, not mine.
And he did it with joy in his heart because
Exactly.
it was for us.
So I look at it, and it took me 15 years to get to the point where I could look back and be like, you said no to my dad just like you said no to your son. You couldn't save my sister. It wasn't part of the plan. You turned me into something that would allow another gentleman to get his daughter back. Okay. And everything from there, which is why I don't typically worry about anything, I know is going to be for good if I allow it to be for good. When the bicep popped, I knew it was going to be a cool story. I didn't know when. I knew it was going to be a chance for me to glorify what God and only God can do, because what I did is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
It's not possible. I'm not that good of a bodybuilder to begin with. But if you take that and you mix it into it, the travel, all of the things, because I'm still building 2 gyms right now. I still have a multi-million-dollar online coaching company that I'm responsible for. I still have 3 children, 7, 5, and 15 months old. I'm still starting a telehealth clinic. I still have a peptide company. I still have 70-something clients. It's impossible to do that intentionally without him. I can look back right before I get on stage. A random guy who's competing against me comes and prays for the same thing that I've been praying for. The result turns out the best way it could. I don't tell anybody. I sit down in the hallway. I'm exhausted. I have nothing. My wife is speaking life into me. And I hear somebody just go, hey, can I take a picture of you? I'm like, yeah, man. He's like, I'm from the IFBB. So that just looks like a cool picture. So he takes a picture
That's
of
cool.
me, he takes a picture of me, blasts it out like I was supposed to be there. It's like, the show's over. It's been over. I'm sitting in the hallway by myself. I can't move. He takes the picture, goes out, people start calling, and it's just, God's good, man. He's good. The whole thing.
All the time.
Is good. And now we sit here having this conversation. And there's some controversy around the way that we view certain things, like viewing prep as a form of fasting and as a form of discipleship and walking through and getting and being obedient and practicing obedience and practicing discipline. Like, it's, oh, bodybuilding's vanity. No. To some, maybe. To some, you're seeking.
Yeah, it's a
For
heart
some.
issue. I think if you approach anything that you do with your heart in the right place, and you like, when I started this, I genuinely just wanted to become better, and it wasn't about having abs, and it wasn't about looking a certain way. In fact, I didn't really have any expectation that I would even end up looking the way that I did. Like, I exceeded my expectations. But what also happened was that wasn't the focal point. The focal point was to put myself in a very hard position and to lean into my relationship with God to help refine me into the version of the man that can now accept the next challenge that's ahead of me, as a coach, as a father, as a husband, and
As a leader.
as a friend, and all the things that I have to fulfill. But if it hadn't been for the last 6 months and the challenges and the unique ones that I've faced that we haven't even talked about today and don't necessarily need to be talked about, but it's, again, through the suffering, it's like if you choose to follow Christ, what he says is to pick up your cross and follow me. So that means you just signed up for suffering because he suffered. Luckily, he suffered in all the ways possible, and he's the only one that can relate to our suffering to any degree, whether it's that you've lost your sister or your daughter, or you're starving, or whether you're in financial disarray, or whatever the label is. If you go through the gospels in the Bible and you read what Jesus actually went through, he's faced it all. So if he's faced everything that you could possibly face from a suffering perspective, then you have a friend in him who can relate to you in a way that no one else can. And in that relationship, that's where you can count all of it joy, because that's where you find your joy, is in relationship with Jesus. And joy is different than happiness. Joy is different than, just being a driven bodybuilder to go win your pro card. Joy is you're content with the outcome no matter what it is, because the ultimate outcome is you're his, and your identity is found in him. And the more that I dive into my identity in Christ, the more it requires me to be more like Jesus. And whatever avenue or tool he uses to dig the human parts out of me and turn me more into him, I'm going to let him use it. And it doesn't have to be something that's pristine and without sin or blemish. In fact, my sin is what's always brought me to the feet of Jesus. It's always what's changed me. So I think, when we look at sanctification, and there was this sort of conversation online today about how fitness and bodybuilding don't have anything to do with sanctification. And actually, it has everything to do with sanctification, because if you look at someone who's trying to get fit, they have to become a new person. And to become a new person, you have to attach yourself to a new identity, and that new identity requires action. And action is a form of sanctification that transforms you into the version of the person that you just said you wanted to be. And so as I perform these actions, it's changing me and sanctifying me into the likeness of Christ. And you get to choose to participate. It doesn't make you less of a Christian if you don't participate in sanctification, because you're still justified in Christ if you believe that he died for you. But the whole purpose is to pick up your cross. That's the whole purpose. The whole purpose is to become more like him. Why would you not run towards that opportunity? And let me tell you something, bro. This off season, I'm gonna get sanctified. I'm gonna get some arms, and then when I get some arms, I'm gonna go win my pro card, and then I'm gonna drag you out of retirement, and we're gonna compete against each other on the pro stage, and I'm gonna beat your butt.
I welcome it, buddy. That'd be a hell of a story. That'd be a hell of a story, man. Only problem is I don't think I can get small enough to get into classic. So,
Well, I'm just
I
gonna
don't
meet
know.
you where you are.
So you come like you meet me on a couch or a beach somewhere. 'Cause that'll be it for me, man.
No,
Nah,
I think
it's
it's fun to talk about the future, and I don't know what it actually is ever going to be, because whenever I have an idea as to what my future is going to be, he tends to have a different plan.
I go where I'm called, right? So typically, if there's a big life change, I'll go in, or something that I feel I need to learn about myself, I go into prep, which is why, like, people don't. I'm not a well-known bodybuilder just because I don't do it all the time. It was
Sure.
2015, 2017, 2020, 2022, and now. Like in like 2008, right? It's never been I've never been pro card hungry. It was never
Yep.
thinking I
Me
didn't think I
neither.
was good. I didn't think I was good enough
Right.
um, until recently, and then even even leading up to it, eh, there's always those doubts. But the one thing that I will stand 10 toes in on and stand firm on, I don't think there's anything right, wrong, or indifferent. I think it all comes down to the heart and what you're trying to do. And if what you are trying to do brings you closer to God so that you can hear Him, nothing will ever be without sin. Nothing. But I think that as you move closer to God, with whichever methodology that you use, if the
It
end
changes you.
result is you are a good and faithful servant that is obedient and you come out on the other side more like Christ, I don't think there's a loss in that. There's a million stories of people who had to go to prison and then they come out and they're on fire for Christ. A million stories of drug addicts who live like the scourge of the earth, and when they come out on the other side, God uses them and sends them back. And there's no right, wrong way to come to God. That's His plan. He has it for everybody. So for like when what I would hope for everybody listening is take off your blinders and look 3, 4, 5, 6 layers deep at the person that's trying to achieve something. Most of the time, it is not surface level. There is something driving that person, whether it's a gravitational pull or it's something that they are running from at the same time. Understand those things. Understand that you can go through a bodybuilding prep chasing Christ. It's not vanity driven. A lot of it's brokenness driven.
Yes.
Right? Bro, like you gotta be. There's gotta
We're
be
all
something wrong
mentally
with you.
insane, is what's up.
Like you're like I have been in prep for 11 months.
Yeah, it's nuts.
11 months, and I've
It's
enjoyed
twice as long as me.
every single second I've enjoyed. Every single second because I knew what I was doing it for. I knew where my reliance was. I knew where I was drawing strength from. It just doesn't bother me anymore. It was literally like, hey, just like you say, pick up your cross and carry it. I knew what I was getting myself into. I know how bad it can suck if I allow it to suck. I was like, no, like, I chose this. I chose this cross to bear, and I chose to carry it, and I chose it for closure, yes. And then somewhere in between, I chose it to show everybody else my faith. And then when the, the crowd got pulled from me because God wanted me to focus on Him, I wish He could pick different ways. But when he pulls the crowd out
He
for Him,
knows the right one to pull.
He just you again. It's not a surface level thing, man. It is a very spiritual journey. You can hear God. For me, I can hear God's voice more. I know that I have to rely on Him. I pray to Him all the time, and that's it.